Fear the Walking Dead has finally reached its end. And all I gotta say is, thank God it's over.
The nightmares. They're finally over.
Thank God this show has ended. This video is basically going to be my only video really on Fear the Walking Dead. I've started to cover the Walking Dead stuff on my channel, and I've reviewed the Walking Dead Dead City, I've reviewed the Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, and I will continue to cover the new shows as they start to come out now. But this is the one show, the one straggler that still had to finish that I was just not going to cover because this show is awful. This is really not going to be a video for you if you really actually like this show, which I don't think there is many people who actually like what happened to this show. But if you like the show, you're not going to like me in this video. This is more just a video of just kind of talking about my feelings of the show overall. I'm not really going to get into detail of really what happened with it and what happened with the finale and everything. It's just more of a, this is done. This show's over. And it's finally done after 8 miserable seasons. I should say more 5 miserable seasons, really, ever since they switched it after 3 seasons of this show that's just been awful. It's been absolutely awful with some little moments of maybe potential, and then it just whimpers out again throughout those 5-season run after the original first 3. This show is just a mess, an absolute mess, and I think the worst season was the last season. Season 8 was terrible. It was the worst thing some of the worst television I have actually just ever watched in general. And I want to talk about the beginning of this show before I even get into kind of where it ended up with Morgan and the later 5 seasons. Like, it's more than half the show. The season 4 till 8, it's more than half the show, and it's just sad. Fear the Walking Dead, man, it started out with the story of the Clark family. You know, you had Alicia Clark, you had Madison Clark, and you had Nick Clark. You had this whole family dynamic, and I think it was really interesting. And at the time, I don't know if people necessarily say it was like better than the Walking Dead main show at the time or anything, but it was something that was certainly interesting, and it was kind of covering it did move through the beginning of the apocalypse fast. I think in the first season, really, they got through it, and they were in their apocalyptic world as well. But it was still near the beginning, and everything was still more new and fresh to the world of, you know, when it fell. And it was the story of this family, this one particular family trying to make their way out of, I believe, Los Angeles, and on how it fell and how the cities were bombed and they had to get out. And you had characters like Victor Strand and all those characters that some of them made it all the way to the end. And if they made it to the end, they weren't the same characters that they were from the first 3 seasons. And the third season, it ended on a pretty high note. I think the third season, I don't remember much. I haven't actually gone back and watched any season of this show. I think I would have if the show continued to stay good, but I have no passion to really rewatch it. Maybe I will one day, and because I think those first 3 seasons were definitely better than whatever we got after that. They ended with the dam blowing up, and they tried to pick up the story with Morgan crossing over from The Walking Dead, and they tried to pick up that story, and it just didn't go well. But I mean, season 3 I think was a high for the series at the time. I think I remember it was just like this. It was the best season of those 3. It was like, okay, this show is really picking up. It's really getting damn good. And I believe then they completely flipped the showrunners, and I don't even know their names, Andrew and Ian or some. I don't know. I don't even know what their names are, but they're the ones who came in after this show. And after that, man, it just got butchered. This show got butchered beyond belief. Morgan Jones from The Walking Dead, who I really like his character in The Walking Dead, and it just sucks that he was thrown onto this show. It became whatever this character was. Basically became the Morgan show, Morgan and Friends, people like to call it. Him wandering around and trying to save everybody and build a new place over and over and over again. And we say Morgan and Friends because the show essentially completely changed its cast. At the time of season 4, they killed Madison for the first time. They killed Madison like midway through season 4. They killed Nick, before the second half of season 4. So Nick and Madison were just both dead, and Alicia was still stuck around. And then you had all these new characters that just came in season 4, and then you had Morgan. And that's the thing is, it wasn't just that they killed a bunch of characters that we actually liked. It's that It's not saying that we don't like Morgan. It's just that they butchered the writing. The writing, if you listen to the writing and just how the story is paced and everything about the show, I don't really have to explain myself. If you've watched the show, and if you're listening to me complain about this right now, you've had to have seen some of Fear the Walking Dead that is just unbearable if it's beyond season 3. It is just unbearable. The writing, the dialogue, everything about it, the characterization, the acting, I think it's just poor. And I don't know. There's so many good actors on the show too, and the acting is so poor, especially season 8. It's so strange because I don't remember Kim Dickens, Madison Clark. I don't remember her acting just being so poor, and it just felt so careless in the latest season. And I mean, they brought Madison back in that final season. After season 7, they got rid of Alicia. They kept her alive, but sent her off. Midway through season 8, they got rid of Morgan finally, but it was too late. The show had already completely flipped over and changed, and it was literally just Morgan wandering around with his new group of people in this show. And he took over the show in this black and white weird colorization that they did over the screen as well, and he just wandered around and did stuff. Stuff just happened. Things just happened. Season 6 actually ended up being a potential light in the show. It's like it kind of picked up a little bit. They did something a little interesting with the whole nuclear storyline, but it just ended up falling apart in season 7 once we got to Strand and the tower stuff. Like, what the hell was that? And then season 8 was awful. Absolutely awful. The Morgan stuff in the first half was just like the whole Padre thing. I don't ever want to hear the word Padre again mentioned in this universe. It's the most infuriating thing ever. But that whole storyline in season 8 is bad. But what this show became, it's a 180. It's a complete 180 from what they had in the first 3 seasons to what they had then. And then this show went on for 8 seasons. How did this show make it 8 seasons? Okay, it was really bad in 4 and 5 already. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like, there's nothing... don't watch it. Don't watch any of it. There's nothing rewarding watching this show. It's just going to make you... It's going to make you hurt. You're really, really going to hurt watching this show. And it sucks. The one thing I will appreciate is The Walking Dead did send off Morgan Jones. And I think you can just kind of ignore maybe hopefully his story in this show. Just kind of bring him back in one of the more important shows like Rick's show and stuff. But ignore the Fear story mostly for Morgan, please. They did bring in Dwight and Sherry from The Walking Dead as well, and they were just there to be there. They didn't really ruin their story. They were just there. So they ruined it with some of the Walking Dead characters, which should have just been on the main show. Like Morgan disappearing at the end of season 8 and then ongoing into 9, 10, 11. He's just gone. He just vanished after he had a pretty significant role in the All Out War arc in The Walking Dead. He just vanished. He was gone after that. He went to live at the garbage place, and then he just disappeared. And we had little cameos at the beginning of season 4 of Fear, where Morgan was talking to a few of the characters from The Walking Dead, including Rick. But it was that transition thing of sending him to Fear the Walking Dead. And why? I don't know. There was some sort of attempt to make Fear the Walking Dead directly linked with The Walking Dead, and I remember them saying a long time ago that they were never going to link those two shows, but then they just did. They flat out did, and then they brought in Dwight and Sherry a little later. They killed Madison, they killed Nick, they made it the Morgan show with a bunch of new characters. And then they tried to bring back Daniel Salazar, they tried to bring back Madison, she came back to life, I guess. They brought back Troy in the last half of season 8 or whatever, when he was very clearly dead in season 3, with the hammer to the head and thing. And then, spoilers, he does die again in the finale. And then Alicia was sent off at the end of season 7, brought back too in the finale of season 8. So it's just strange. Now you do have Nick's girlfriend, Luciana. She did nothing through the rest of the show, basically, since Nick died. She was just kind of there. She vanished. There was other characters that existed, like the truck driver lady. I can't even believe I remember her existing. But there's just random things that they did, they forgot about. There was this whole group of kids. I don't know if it's season 5, but they just forgot about them. Where did they go? There's so many plot lines, so many things they did in the show that just fell apart. It was disastrous, and they did it so poorly, and it just sucks. So, goodbye to Fear the Walking Dead. This is more just my only video I really wanted to say about it. There's so much more I could say about Fear the Walking Dead 2. There's so much bad. There's so much bad about this show. I wish it stayed good, but unfortunately now it is a chunk of the Walking Dead universe. And going forward, like, yeah, we're going to have all these new shows, which I think are going to be pretty cool. Daryl Dixon was a very... you compare Daryl Dixon to whatever this show is, like at the end here, it is night and day. It is insane how different it is. And it's just crazy, man. So it's a sad tale. It's sad what happened to this show. If you ever manage or even try to check out this show, never go into season 4. Never go into season 4. The dam blew up and I don't know, they all died. I don't know. Just don't go into season 4, please. Don't do that to yourself. With Morgan, he disappeared off Walking Dead and he lived a good life. Go with that. Just don't watch it. Don't hurt yourself like that, please. We don't encourage that type of harm. So, Fear the Walking Dead, you will not be missed from me. If you enjoyed it somehow, I guess, it's over now. Your show is done, but I hope we can move on from never seeing this show again. The showrunners that did this show for season 4 and on, I hope they never touch another television show in their life. They don't deserve it. They're awful. I have no sympathy for them. They don't deserve a job anymore. It was just bad, and hopefully we can all just kind of forget that this thing happened. And yeah, it was unbearable, and I'm glad it's done. You may ask why I even stuck with watching it, and it's because I think I just love the Walking Dead universe that much in general, and there were some characters I did care about it on there, like Morgan, Dwight, Sherry. Those are characters I would love to see go back to where they're supposed to be. And in general, I've been watching it for so long now. It's like, I'm going to put myself through this. I'm invested in a terrible way. It's like, I got to see what the hell happens in this miserable experience. So that's my point of view. But don't watch it. I don't recommend this show. It was awful. And it is done. It has reached its finale. It has reached its end. Alicia is alive. Madison is alive. They drove off to Los Angeles, and hopefully we'll never see them again, along with everybody else in the main cast. Hopefully we see Morgan again, and that's all I really want to see come from this show going forwards is Morgan's story. And I hope he never mentions his story from this show. So my rambling is done. Fear the Walking Dead's done. On to the Rick Grimes show, The Ones Who Live. I am beyond excited for that. Let's just move on to that and focus on the future of this universe and forget that this thing ever existed.